Have you ever noticed how impossible it feels to change your life, change the trajectory of your life, change your current reality into something that you actually want? I'm not gonna lie, I've been in that same situation and it feels damn near impossible until I kind of found this concept called the future self. Now, before you even start in on me, I'm with you. I used to think that when people talked about future self, it was usually people that like to rub crystals together and blame the world on Mercury being in retrograde or whatever, or the tides of the moon shifting slightly, and that's why we don't get what we want out of life. That none of that makes any sense. And honestly, I lumped all that in together with a bunch of woo nonsense. That was until I started noticing every high-level entrepreneur, high performer I met believed in this concept and they were getting results. So then I started to do a little research and I just so happened to find certain people that explained it very well in my opinion. And today I'm gonna do something a little different. I'm gonna try to explain how I use this concept of the future self to improve my life, how it shifted everything for me being a not very good, student in school to now going on to be a pretty successful entrepreneur, and I'm still working on it, but honestly, this is the path I'm gonna be taking to become a multiple seven-figure entrepreneur. Before we get there, I think we should talk about this guy named Dr. Joe Dispenza, who arguably breaks this down better than anybody. So I'm gonna use this concept to explain what exactly we're gonna be doing today. By the end of this video, I'm gonna give you a literal breakdown, step by step, of what you need to do daily to actually become your future self. Because to be honest with you, a lot of this stuff feels like philosophy. Okay, this sounds great, but how do I actually do it? In this video, I'm actually gonna show you what you can do daily to completely change your life and to turn into your future self. All right, so Dr. Joe Dispenza has probably the best lines I've ever heard. Your personality creates your personal reality. Now, the best way I know how to show you how this actually works is through this. So your current reality, where you're facing right now, is based upon how you think, act, and feel. And this is your current self. That is your personality as a whole, is how you think, act, feel, which then creates your beliefs. Oddly enough, I don't know why this keeps happening, but there's two movies I saw recently that's actually talking about this concept. Inside Out 2 is number one. They were talking about how your actions create your beliefs. Same thing with this movie. It's like a silly rom-com called Hitman, I think it's called. Yeah, Hitman. Same idea. They're talking about this, how you think, act, feel, create your beliefs. Now, what people don't talk about though, is how your beliefs, how you think, act, feel, create your beliefs. How you create your beliefs, these beliefs then create your current reality. And your current reality dictates how you think, act, feel, which then creates your beliefs. See the little cycle here? We're gonna break that cycle. According to Dr. Joe Dispenza, we're breaking the cycle and we're going to create a future reality. One where it's based on you, what you decide the vision is going to be. Now, that vision of how you view yourself, how you view your future reality is going to determine how you think, act, and feel. Again, we're gonna break down exactly how to make this happen, but this creates your new personality, which then creates your new beliefs. And again, same idea, these new beliefs feed into your vision. What you believe is possible creates an even bigger vision, which then feeds into new beliefs. Once you think, act, feel, your new vision creates how you think, act, feel, which then creates the new beliefs. Beautiful cycle, and it creates your future reality. Now, let's start in on this part here. What is this concept of future self? What the hell is it? Why in the world do I need, Raylen, a future self? Well, I'm glad you asked. The reason why, and here's kind of the hard truth, who you are today has got you where you are. Where you are today, yourself today, the way that you think, act, feel, has created the current reality you're at. And by the way, if you're like, hey, I'm happy with my life, I have everything that I want and more, well, guess what? This video is not for you. But for some of us that's like, no, I want more, well, who we are today is not gonna get us there. So we have to create this new version of ourselves. This version of ourselves, this elevated transformation we're gonna make that is going to create our future self. Now, this is easier said than done. Again, Dr. Joe Dispenza said this one line I think is great. He said, we're addicted to our beliefs. We're addicted to the emotions of our past. We see our beliefs as truths, not ideas that can change. And many of these things are having a negative impact on our life and happiness. We need to shift. In order to do that, though, we have to actually determine what that future self looks like. So that means we have to start with creating a vivid vision, a vision that's incredibly clear, and we know where we're headed. Now, some people like to make vision boards, and that's fine. I like to write mine out. And actually, if you're an entrepreneur like me, you probably want to pick up a book called Vivid Vision. It's a book created by this guy named Cameron Herold. So Cameron Herold was the COO of 1-800-JUNK, talked about how a CEO's job is to create a vision for the company, but without implementation, it just sits there. Same is true with changing who you are as a human being and creating this new version of yourself. You can't just create a vision and then do nothing about it. The purpose of the vision is so that way you know where we're headed, but then to create the behaviors that are going to lead to getting to that vivid vision, which means we have to craft the future you. We have to take a look at that vision, whatever that is for you, and then determine what are the actions you need to take to obtain that vision. Now, what's funny is when I was in high school, I had this high school wrestling coach. He was the first millionaire I ever met. He was an entrepreneur. I remember he tried to explain this to me, but I was in high school, so obviously I didn't really listen. But I remember he sat me down before I went to school, because I was going to go to school to be a teacher. And he said to me, Raylen, what do you want? What do you want for your life? What kind of car do you want to drive? What kind of house do you want to have? And I'm telling him I want this like $500,000 house. I want this kind of car that's worth like $100,000. I want this, I want that. And he stops and he goes, okay, well, that's great. How much does being a teacher pay? At the time, I'm like, I don't know, like 35 grand a year. And he kind of just stared at me for a while and he was like, interesting. How do you think you're gonna get all that then? Then he sat me down and he said, look, most people go to school and they get a degree. That degree determines what kind of job they can have, and the job they have determines how much money they make, which determines their lifestyle. I did everything backwards. I decided what I wanted for my life, the type of freedom that I wanted, the car that I'm gonna be driving, the type of family I'm gonna have, how many kids, all of that. And then I created a life cycle or a lifestyle that's gonna give me that. And that's exactly what we're doing here. Once you create the vision, you're then creating the future you that's gonna have the habits, the thoughts and beliefs, and the action that's gonna lead to that future vision. And this is where we get to the point where we need to start taking action. Because again, it's one thing to start talking about, hey, this is who I wanna become, but we need to start creating habits. We need to start actually taking action to get what we want. So you need to start writing out what are the daily behaviors that the future you is going to exhibit. What are those daily habits? How do they feel? How do they think? What is going to be different about you as a whole? And you need to write all those things down. Now, you may figure out as you're doing this, you come up with a crazy amount of habits. What I like to do is just stick to 5 to 10 at most. And this concept comes from this book called Triggers by Marshall Goldsmith. So Marshall Goldsmith has this concept called daily questions. And for his CEOs he works with, when they want to change their life and improve, he has them write out 10 to 20 questions they ask themselves every single day, and they answer a simple scale of 1 to 10. And the question goes something like this: did I try my best to blank? I tweaked it a little bit because again, we're not just worried about what we do every day, we're worried about how do we shift into the who. Who do I get to be to have this vision come to fruition? So what I changed it to is, did I try my best to be someone who blank? So I'm gonna give you an example of like a really basic one. So recently I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was talking about how difficult it is for her to stick to a habit of working out. Well, the problem is we're focused so much on the action of working out that she's not shifting. Who she is still her. She doesn't really like working out, and that's okay. She doesn't like working out, so because she feels that way, think, act, feel, her personality says, I'm not really into working out, which means after a while, she gives up. So the shift is, did I try my best to be someone who enjoys working out? Did I try my best to be someone who enjoys working out? Shifts from, I just need to get a workout in to get it done, to can I find maybe a workout that I enjoy doing? This is where like a buddy of mine I was talking to literally just yesterday, he's like lost, what was it? He used to be like 235 or something like that, and he's down to like 175 because he enjoys running and playing hockey. So he went to like a fun like beer league here in Arizona and started playing hockey. Why? Because he enjoys it. For me, it's jujitsu. Like I do enjoy lifting weights, but every once in a while I'm like, what am I doing this for? Am I just doing this for funsies? No, it's doing it so I can become someone who is better at jujitsu. And jujitsu happens to be a pretty good sport to get in good shape. So the point is, once you have the vision, you're then going to create the future who that would obtain that future that you want. Then break down the habits. How do they think, act, and feel every single day? and you're going to simply do those habits. Like, this reminds me of, again, I had a friend of mine, I think in another video I talked about this story, but I have a friend of mine named Shane who is a mindset coach for these high-level entrepreneurs and big companies. And this company says, hey, I want to be a $100 million company, and they're making like 15 million a year. And he says, all right, I want you to write down all the reasons you feel like you're not a $100 million company. So they go to the whiteboard and they're drawing out all the reasons why. And then he goes, have you ever considered just being a $100 million company? Of course, everyone's like, what do you mean by that? You know, of course, we're trying to, he goes, no, I didn't say to have more excuses as to why you're not a $100 million company. I said simply to do the behaviors, think, act, and feel like a $100 million company and see where that gets you. So they go, all right, fine. Well, I guess we're gonna try this weird woo stuff. And next thing you know, they got this partnership that equated to somewhere around $100 million. So within months, they achieved their goal simply by think, act, feel, right? They shifted their personality to being that. So the question for you is, what would happen if you do this for yourself? Now, all right, I promise you we're going to make this an actionable step. So remember those questions I talked about, right? We figured out the habits, the think, act, feel of the future selves. Now you can use something like Google Forms, or I personally use what's called Notion to track this. So I have a habit tracker that I'll show you really. So you can probably see this here where it says good habits. Create, stretch, work out, read, drink water. So these habits is the habit of someone I believe is my future self, someone that is going to attain the goals that I'm trying to create. I broke it down to really simple 5 things, simply because if I had 20 of these things on here, it'd be too hard to manage. So for you, there's 3 ways you can really do this. I, again, use Notion because it creates this report for me for how I'm doing. Recently, I was talking to a mentee of mine, someone that I kind of work with, who's trying to change their life. And I recommended they use a simple reminder on their phone. So you can populate a reminder that's reoccurring, that happens every single day, that asks you a simple question. Are you trying your best to be someone who did X habit? The other way, which also works pretty well, is using Google Forms. You can create a survey for yourself and a reminder to fill out that survey each and every day. And what you'll notice is this: if you don't start achieving your goals, meaning you don't feel like you're making progress towards your goals, if you look at the report and you start looking at how often you're achieving those goals or how well you're ranking yourself on those questions, you can see why. Activity produces activity. And 9 times out of 10, the reason why you're not getting to where you want to be is not because of what you're thinking, acting, feeling today, but because of how you thought, act, and felt 2 weeks ago. And you're just finally catching up. So at the end of the day, I know that was a lot, but if you simply just break out what are the 5 to 10 habits that your future self is going to actually exhibit and do every day, and you follow those things, you may be surprised the results you actually get. Now, I want to hear from you though. If you are someone that actually has changed your personality, changed how you thought, act, felt, and it's completely different from this, I want to hear down in the comments. I also want to hear if you feel like this won't work for you, let me know why. Maybe we can help you out and shift your mindset a bit so you actually can get it. The truth of the matter is this: if you want to change your personal reality, you have to change your personality. And it starts by elevating who you are today to your future self. As always, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And as always, I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.